This is U.S. immigration attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. Today, I want to just talk about a topic that I'm pretty sure is of interest to you all, especially those who are living in Florida. Now, we saw the implementation of the Florida immigration law back in July, on July 1st. And the law is very extensive. There's a lot of misinformation going on out there too that is really crippling individuals unnecessarily. So I think this is going to be another opportunity to mention where the law does apply and where it doesn't apply. But there have been arrests in Florida based on the immigration law. So a driver has drivers. So I was looking at news articles about this, and drivers have been arrested in Florida already based on the Florida immigration law. Now, these drivers have been arrested for transporting immigrants who are here without status or who came into the country without permission, for transporting them into Florida, driving them into Florida. And the individuals who have been arrested, they're of Mexican, they are from Mexico. And what happened, there are 3 arrests so far, but of course, that number may change or may increase, but there have been 3 arrests so far, and all 3 have been in the Tampa Bay area. So that's telling me that the police are really heavy on immigration enforcement in that area. And, it shouldn't be the case that police officers have to now be checking immigration statuses and determining whether someone entered the country without permission, because sometimes that can be very difficult to decipher. And it because of that, it puts, of course, it puts unnecessary burden on the police officers, but it puts a lot of people at risk for being arrested without a just cause. But now they have to go through the criminal justice system to be able to clear that up, even if they can even clear that up, because police officers are not immigration experts. And so it makes it a dangerous type of work or enforcement that they're doing. So in this case, in one of the cases, the individual drove the police said in the police report that there is evidence that the driver, drove individuals who did not have status or came into the country without permission, they were undocumented, into the state of Florida from another state. And that's what the police have used to then turn around and press criminal charges. So he has been charged with a third-degree felony charge of human smuggling. So because it's a human smuggling law that has been passed under the immigration law in Florida. And so, Mexico, for example, Mexico is taking close note of these arrests, because the individuals who have been arrested are of Mexican descent. And so, and it's the driver that was arrested, by the way, not the immigrants that they were transporting, but the driver. But the driver himself is also undocumented in one of the examples. I have not read the details on the other cases where the arrest occurred, but the highly publicized arrest, in that case, he is also undocumented. And so the Mexican government has now tried to get involved to try to intervene and carry on with diplomatic efforts with the governor's office here to try to sort through this. So I'll be following that to see where this goes. There is a lawsuit that's pending right now in the federal court, and they have requested that there is an injunction. So there's a pause on the enforcement of this particular law that's charging people who transport people without status into Florida. And we have to see whether the judge is going to move forward and approve any kind of injunctions that may be brought forth in the future. But that is a situation now, is that they are starting to make arrests. Now, let's go over who can and cannot be arrested in a situation like this. So, who can't be arrested? You will not be arrested if you are in the car with your family member or your friend or any individual who is undocumented and you're driving around in Florida. If you are not transporting somebody into Florida, you will not be arrested for that. There's no charge for driving an immigrant around an immigrant who doesn't have their status around Florida. There's no charge for living with your relatives who may not have their immigration status. So that's one. They can't arrest you for that. Two is that you if even if they're driving you into this, or you're driving, say you're driving an immigrant into the state or transporting them into the state, and they don't have their papers, can you be arrested? They're going to look at another element here to determine whether the law does apply to you. And that's, is did the person, the immigrant who you're driving into the state, can they show that they legally entered the country, even though their status may be expired now? If you came in with a visa, if you have any kind of visa that's now expired, but you came into the country that way, you came in with permission, you came in with parole, you were inspected, an officer spoke to you and let you in, and you have the evidence of that, then they can't arrest you on this human smuggling charge, because this is for individuals who are transported into the country, and those individuals who are being transported did not come with any inspection. They weren't, they didn't not, they crossed the border without permission. This is who this law is targeting. It's not targeting individuals who you came with a visa and then you ended up overstaying. So now, if you do have, and this is where the lawsuit is going, is very relevant here, is that if you have a family member, say you're living right on the border between Georgia and Florida, and you have to go from Georgia to Florida, maybe you have to drive your children to school, maybe you have to make doctor's appointments, maybe you have to go to a job or something across the border in Florida, and say you have to, somebody, your family member has to drop you over, or you have to drop your family member who came into the country without permission. That means they came in maybe by boat, snuck into the country, snuck across the border. Does that put you at risk for a human smuggling charge? Yes, it does. There are no exceptions here. The law doesn't provide any exceptions to say that if you are the family member driving another family member into the state, that you are going to be exempted. So that does put, and this is where the lawsuit is showing that the law is way too vague. It's too broad. It's so broad that it just does not make any sense, and it conflicts with the federal law. And so we have to see where that lawsuit goes, whether they will be successful on that. But that's where you do have to be cautious about moving, driving into the state or transporting a relative into the state that may have come into the country without permission. That means they came with no visa, no permission, no inspection, no talking to an officer and getting permission to enter the country. All right, so that's it for me. That's the information I have, the update I have on my end. As usual, reach out. Let's talk to you about possible options that you may have in the future. Just be careful and be mindful of the law and what the law that applies. Just try not to give in to your fears based on misinformation. Now I'm going to answer questions. Put those questions in the comments so that I can answer your questions. Put those questions in the comments now and I'll answer. It can be anything that's immigration related. It doesn't have to be just related to the topic that I came to talk about, but it can be any topic that's immigration related. So yes, Texas is also coming out with a similar law. So that's going through the legislative body in Texas. So I'm starting to keep an eye on that. So USCIS sent my sister an RFE over 4 months now, and they still don't make a decision on her case as yet. What do you recommend she does? So she can always contact them. I don't represent her, I don't know her case, but she can always contact them to, ask what the status of the case is. But it's difficult to say what kind of actions. I don't know when she filed, what she filed, and so forth. This is where representation is very important. All right, put those questions in the comments. I'm looking out for your questions on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. So put those questions in the comments so that I can answer your questions. Okay, it's almost like even Uber and Lyft drivers have to ask status before taking a ride. Yeah, so if the Uber driver or the Lyft driver is going across state lines, then they very well have to ask that if they want to stay clear of any kind of troubles with law enforcement. If you're out of status and your daughter's father got a 10-year visa, can your daughter still apply for a waiver? She's 3. So now I don't know what kind of waiver you're referring to, but if your daughter is here in the United States, she's 3, um, and you're looking at getting her the green card. I'm not sure what kind of waiver you're referring to, so I'm kind of making it up as we go along too, because I don't know what I need some more context here, because a 10-year visa does not give your daughter any kind of benefit. A 10-year visa is just a visitor's visa. It's not something that would grant your daughter any kind of eligibility for a visa herself. She has to still, as a 3-year-old, individually prove that, through her parents, of course, prove that she warrants that visitor's visa too. So I'm not sure what waiver you're talking about here. But one thing I will say is when we're talking about unlawful presence, so a child does not accrue unlawful presence until they're 18 years and 6 months. So 18 years and 6 months is when they accrue unlawful presence. So if you're talking about a waiver related to unlawful presence, being here without your papers, overstaying your visa, then the waiver would not be applicable here. If you came into the country across the border as a child and was married to a USC who was abusive and abandoned the kids, do you qualify for VAWA? Yes, I'm glad you brought this up. So VAWA does apply to individuals who have come across the border, even if you came across the border without permission, and you don't need a waiver in the case of VAWA. So you can stay here and apply for your residence. While being here under VAWA. If you came through the airport and you're driving, stopped by the cop, will they arrest that person under? It depends. No. So keep in mind, they have to have proof that you drove from another state into Florida. But somebody picking you up at the airport is not going to qualify here because they're still driving in Florida. That car never left. So that's not supposed to apply in this case. Any issues with with delayed job on H-1B? So that's going to depend on what H-1B issues you're having. Can someone who had a federal charge sponsor someone to get their green card? So there's what's called the Adam Walsh Act, and that can prevent someone from petitioning for an immigrant if the crime, the offense involved a minor. So that's what you have to look for under the Adam Walsh Act. Yes, Tia, I look forward to that. Can a U.S. citizen petition for an individual if the citizen receives housing, voucher, and food stamps? Yes. Yes. What matters here is the income. Will usually now where this usually indicates that is questions whether there's going to be a problem is for someone to qualify for housing assistance and for food stamps, their income has to be low. It has to be low, and usually it has to be low on the lower end. And so that usually raises a red flag for, can this citizen petition, can they make enough income to qualify for the affidavit of support? Because for the affidavit of support, you have to show that you're making an income above 125 at 125%, at minimum 125% of the poverty line. And so if they're receiving housing vouchers and food stamps, then the next question would be, well, exactly how much are they making? And is it below that 125% line, that threshold that we have to meet? So that's the question. But in the case that they can still show that they're making income, maybe they are getting these benefits, but somehow they can still qualify, then sure, they can still petition despite getting these benefits. How long after documentarily qualified does it take to get an interview with the Jamaica Embassy? So you're looking at a year and a half to about 2 years. Can someone who was jailed due to drug selling charges petition for an individual? It's possible, but once again, we have to look at the specific facts involved in the offense. If it involves a minor, then there may be a problem there. If your biological son was adopted and you want to file for your citizen, so I don't usually provide specific information about your children. I mean, about filling out forms. If your biological son was adopted, then it means that you have cut ties with your child. So they're no longer your child. However, I don't know what the situation is. I don't know how old was your child when they got adopted. Were they adopted when they were a baby? Were they adopted when they were 16? It never, I would say that in this case, you need to get legal advice just because I don't know what the facts are. And so, and I never tell any individual what to put on the forms because that's a whole other matter. Um, what's the best step forward in getting my green card? Well, there are over 21 ways to get your green card. Over 21, meaning more than 21 ways. So, what's the best way for you? I'll have to ask you specific questions to understand how. Do you have family? Do you have relatives? Can you get it through investment? So this is where the consultation is going to be very important. All right, keep putting those questions in the comments. So for some reason, I am not seeing the comments here on YouTube. Um, I don't know that there must be a technical glitch going on. I'm not seeing the comments on YouTube, so I'm sorry. It's not that I'm ignoring you, but I'm just not seeing the comments showing up. It's just buffering. So if you type your questions, I can look afterwards to see what your questions are, and I'll answer your questions in the comments. But unfortunately, I can't see them now. So still type your questions out, and I'll go ahead and respond to them in the comments. Hopefully, those questions will show to me in the comments after I'm finished with talking to you. All right. Let's see. If you're out of status, am I able to fly to Florida to visit family? So, what I am saying is Florida is, as you can see, based on what I talked about when I first came on here, Florida is not a safe state. So where you can avoid Florida, avoid it. Especially if you don't have your proper paperwork, avoid it. Now, if it's something where you can't avoid it, you need to see family. I would say this: the law is applicable to those who are trying to work here, who need to drive here, and so if you're not going to do those, then and you're just going to come in quick in and out kind of situation, it shouldn't be a problem. But when if you're coming here to work, or you're coming here you're thinking about moving here, it's not really a good place to do that right now. So additional to the petition question, will getting a joint sponsor help the individual? Yes. So having a joint sponsor can help. How much is a consultation? It's $150 for half an hour, and I go through very detailed consultation to go through your options and evaluate how you may qualify for not only the green card, but other ways to fix your status, as in if you're out of status, to fix your situation and get you back on track. Um, what if your wife died? How do I go about that? So if and I'm so sorry if that happened. My condolences. There is, if your wife was a U.S. citizen, then you can apply for the widower um, petition. You have 2 years to do that. So the clock is ticking. You need to jump on it right away. Where are you based? So I am based in Boca Raton, Florida. However, keep in mind that I represent clients all over the country and the world. So no matter where you are, I can assist you. Can you assist with getting a work permit? So that's what I do. I assist people with getting work permits. But keep in mind, let's talk about this for a minute. Can I get a work permit for you? My follow-up question would be to you is, do you qualify for a work permit? Not everyone that wants a work permit is going to get a work permit, because a big part of this is that to get a work permit, you need to qualify for something, just like the green card. You need to qualify through a family member, through circumstances you're going through an employer. You can't just come here and say, I want to work. I'm going to apply for a work permit. So this is where the consultation is very important, because that's exactly what I do. Is I go through a very detailed evaluation to determine whether you fall under one of the ways to obtain a work permit, through a benefit or through relief, if you're applying for relief. For example, when I talk about relief, Were you the victim of trafficking? Were you the victim of abuse? Were you the victim of a spouse or a relative that mistreated you here? Were you targeted in your country? Are you afraid to return to your country? And if you can answer yes to those, then we explore those options for you. Other options are, do you have an employer who wants a petition for you? Do you have a family member that wants a petition for you? Are you married and is your spouse ready to petition for you? If so, then while you are waiting for the green card, you can get a work permit. Also, other ways include were you paroled into the country? If you're paroled into the country, then you can apply for your work permit. The parole is special permission that you usually get at the border to come into the country and it usually has a deadline. So you have to apply for that work permit before the deadline. Were you granted deferred action? If you were, then you could possibly qualify also for a work permit. I've received my employment authorization card, but I'm unable to get my green card. I'm married, but divorce is on the way. So keep in mind that divorce, it depends. If you're getting divorced and your spouse was mistreating you, then that could be an avenue to get permanent residence. So I have to understand. Sounds like you were in the process. That's why you have your employment authorization, but now the spouse is divorcing you. And so this is where we have to explore what exactly happened. Now, to get in touch to schedule the appointment, go to the link in the profile. At the very top of the link, Linktree, you'll see the button to schedule your very own appointment, so you don't even need to call. But if you want to call and talk to a staff member who can help you to schedule, go ahead and you can click on the link to get to the website. You will see the phone number there. Give us a call, and you can also fill out our evaluation request form, and it will go to a staff member. A staff member will contact you and get you scheduled, get you on my calendar. What I do want to say is that as we're coming to the end of the year, I can't believe how quickly the time is going by. My calendar is filling up, so don't wait. Do it now because my calendar is filling up, and I really don't want anybody to be left out that I can help. And the way that I determine whether I can help you is by understanding your situation in that consultation. I have my green card. She passed 3 weeks now. We've been married for 5 years. So, in the case that you have your 2 year green card, then you can move forward move forward with a waiver to get the 10 years. So you can start on that right away. It's been 140 days since I've been approved for the travel document and still haven't received it. So this is where you need to contact them to see exactly what's going on. Maybe it got lost in the mail. Maybe they haven't generated the card yet, but if you give them a call, maybe that might give them a little nudge to figure out what's going on. I'm currently a J1 intern, but I want to extend. There is a 2 year band in the visa. So the 2 year foreign residency requirement means that you have to go back before changing over to any other status. If you want to change over to any other status, what you need to do is you need to apply for a waiver of that 2 year foreign residency requirement. I just came last year, May 16, from Jamaica. Okay, so give us a call. Let's talk about your situation. Do you take VAWA cases? Absolutely. That's one of the things we do. One of the case types we focus on. If you follow me and you look at my videos, you look at my reviews, you will see the results that we've gotten for our clients, and you'll see the information I provide about VAWA. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Can someone who's retired be an affidavit of support? Yes, if they can show the income. If they get retirement income and it meets the threshold, sure. I came here on a work permit, but I met in an accident. I was admitted to the hospital for a while. When the time came for me to go back home, I was still admitted. So, work permit expired. I'm stuck here. So let's give us a call. Let's talk about what your situation is, and we can see whether there's a way to get around that. If an LPR parent files for their undocumented, non-married child in the U.S., does the child have to return to their country or citizenship for filing to be successful? Yes. In a nutshell, yes. Eventually, they have to go back. Now, the whole process is going to take about 5 to 7 years, by the way. I started my process is will it be a problem if you took over? So call, schedule an appointment. Let's talk about what the situation is, and then I can determine whether it is something that we can take over. What I often say is always best to hire an attorney before you get started, because the where I see a lot of mistakes or mistakes that are very hard to fix is where you file, make the mistakes, and then it's hard to turn back and fix those mistakes afterwards, and it gets to a lot more complex case and a lot more expensive. So there are a few that I will look at and determine whether it's something I can take, but it depends. This is where it depends on, well, in every case facts matter here, so that's one of them. All right, that's all I have for today. I am working on getting, so we have been just focusing on getting our clients' cases out. So I've been very busy. We've had new team members added. So we've been going through training here at the firm, and we have many new clients that we're getting their cases out along with training. So I have not been connecting with you all on a regular basis. But the whole reason is we want to make sure we're helping our clients to succeed. And so it's very important for my team and I to be on the same page. So that's what we're working on now. So I am working on getting back on track and coming back on a regular basis. So maybe not this week, but next week I'll hop on at lunchtime where I can. But I just wanted to let you know that's a situation. I haven't left completely. I'm working on getting back. But we also have to make sure that everything we get these cases out, because the law is changing. As you can see, I just talked about the law in Florida. I just talked about the law in Texas. There's a lot going on. We have an election coming up next year, and we don't know how the laws are going to change next year. So I have a lot of clients that are now taking advantage of the time we have now to get them the immigration benefits that they deserve. And so we've been working really hard to get reach those goals, and so that has been a big priority. So I will connect with you again, hopefully tomorrow or Friday, and then I'll let you know as soon as we get back on track to get on a regular schedule, Monday to Friday at lunchtime, where we can have a conversation. But think of the questions you want to ask. Now, if you have particular questions that are specific to you, always, always, always schedule an appointment to talk to me individually, so we can, and I do all the appointments, so you will talk to me individually. And I just saw here, thanks so much. So you and your team are awesome, especially Marvin. Okay, I will be sure to tell Marvin that. Thanks so much for that. I appreciate that. And it's good to know that. And your hair is beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for that. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you hopefully tomorrow. I'll see you then. But think of questions you want to ask. It can be anything immigration related, and drop it in as soon as you see me so I can answer those questions. Have a great day. Bye.